use yourself or share with others. Now, I want to first introduce the author who made it all happen. Bloom author Sheila Reynolds. She's read it right. Stories for Women to Nurture Your Growth and Water Your Soul. This is like your second group of wonderful, talented authors that you found scouring the country to find. So, Sheila, tell us a little bit about Bloom.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Taylor. Bloom is really all about celebrating women. That's the premise of this project. And it provides a platform for women to become published authors and to be able to share their stories about how they evolved and how they bloomed as a way to help other women do the same.
Now, Sheila, we talked about it before, but those may be joining the program for the first time and hearing about the Bloom volume. How do you go about finding the women, the authors? Because some of them, this is the first time writing. Others, they've been doing it for years.
Absolutely. The very first volume, Taylor, I handpicked each of these women because I knew them and I wanted to celebrate them. And I wanted to provide an avenue where they could share their story and people could know a little more about their background. I wanted to give them a sneak peek of what their journey was about and be able to show this really powerful, professional, a woman, but also give you an idea of what her journey was like. The second volume was different. I went out and I did some promotion. I did some Facebook Lives. I did some Facebook ads. Nothing, very, very little happened. I went on Clubhouse and I went into a room. I had a room in the Women in Business room. And I did a segment about upcoming project for women of faith, upcoming book project, any interest. I mean, a slew of women came through that. And I was able to recruit about 21 authors who were interested in sharing their story. And boy, did they share their stories.
Yeah, we've heard about from a few of the authors, I think 6 so far. And so I'm just really honored to be able to put them on this platform as we close out the month of October. I cannot believe this. And as we acknowledge Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So let's get to it. Let's get to our first author.
My name is Angel Townsend, and I am so excited to be a contributing author in the second volume of Bloom, Stories for Women to Nurture Your Growth and Water Your Soul. One of the reasons I'm so excited is that it gave me an opportunity to really consider how long I had lived my life in anger and exhaustion because of what I believe life had done to me. When I finally decided to really choose peace over the anger, the exhaustion went away, and I realized where my power lies. My chapter in this beautiful volume is A Peaceful Warrior, and I hope that it will inspire you to consider that our power lies not in anger, but the real power lies in choosing peace.
Welcome, Angel. Peaceful warrior. Kind of an oxymoron. I like that. A peaceful warrior.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so honored and excited to be here with you.
So, Angel, how has this process really changed your life?
Well, the couple of things have taken place. The process of writing and the process of just transforming from a warrior that was raging and angry and fighting to a peaceful warrior, to someone who gives thought to what I do and why and how I do it. That has been phenomenal. And then writing and being a part of the Bloom Project has also helped me to bloom, helped me to blossom into even more into the woman that I know God designed me to be.
So let's talk about your chapter.
Okay.
Where is it in the book? What's the title? And then let's talk a little bit about that so we can share your story.
Okay. Again, the title of my chapter is A Peaceful Warrior. And in that chapter, I talk about, again, how just was angry. And I said, I've gone through some trauma, no surprise, no really big deal. Most of us, so many of us have experienced trauma, but I responded to the traumas in my life angrily and came out fighting, came out swinging. As the saying goes, I was the person who would kill a mosquito with an axe. So if you step on my toe, I'm gonna and I get a bruise, I'm gonna try to chop yours off. And that's not something that I'm proud of, but that's how I responded because I felt like I had to fight. I felt like I had to fight to protect myself. I had to fight against people that I thought cared about me and thought should care for me, and I had to fight to protect those I cared about. So I just spent most of my formative years fighting and being angry and responding to every perceived slight in anger.
So now that you've written this chapter, A Peaceful Warrior, so was it more than one thing that happened? Was it your childhood that responded? Was it a bullying? Was it abuse? Was it verbal? Was it, what was it that now that you've written this, I'm sure you can answer that question.
Well, in my experience, my father became abusive after having experienced his own trauma, and now that I'm on the other side of that, I recognize that it wasn't something he was doing to me because he disliked me, but because
Mhm.
he had his own pain, and we sometimes act out of pain, hurting people, as they say, hurt people. So that was the beginning of my fighting. I was responding to his verbal and sometimes physical abuse, and I just tried my best to give as good as I got. So, and then from that foundation, women, young girls need to feel loved by their fathers first. They need to know that they are princesses first. And let me be fair to my father. I felt that way prior to him having a serious life interruption that created a seismic shift in our lives and created a lot of pain and heartache for him. And instead of healing from that, he turned it out. And because of that, the foundation as a in my formative years, I became angry and I then sought out other men who were also abusive. I have said before that every masochist needs a sadist. And as a masochist, I did not realize that's what I was doing, but I was seeking out sadists, and the universe was delivering them to me in spades.
Thanks
So
for your response, Colette. So, Angel, how far back does your memory allow you to remember that you were angry? What age do you remember, or this fight back mentality to survive, whatever that may have been for you?
Well, the tragedy, if you will, happened in our lives when I was about 6,
Oh,
and
wow.
I I went into a deep depression, and I went from shock to depression, and that lasted until probably as I started to come out of it. I was bullied by family members who were using our family tragedy against me and trying to shame me because of that tragedy. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm gonna fight back. So so probably 8 or 9, the true warrior, the fierce warrior in me came out.
So, with you going through your trauma and coming out on the other side and blooming and sharing your story, being the peaceful warrior, do you are you a person that can see that in young people now? When you see them acting out, you can kind of see through that because you were on that side at one point in your life?
I can see it very clearly. And I feel like it is part of my purpose to help other young people, men or women. Right now, I happen to be mentoring a young man who is
Okay.
wrongly incarcerated because we all have pain. And my constant statement to him is you cannot come out of this situation the same way you went in. Because if you do, they win and you lose. And the goal is for you to win by being successful in life and by processing what is happening to you and finding a way to use that for yourself as opposed to allowing your experiences to work against you. So yeah, I can see it. I can see it a mile off.
I think it's really interesting when I hear you tell that story, because I would think of, were their family okay, well, obviously you mentioned your family, immediate family wasn't, they were kind of, some of them obviously were making fun of you, but what about teachers? Or there was no one that recognized an angry 6-year-old is not normal, or an 8-year-old that's to me is not a normal behavior to be angry consistently.
I don't there I had an eighth grade teacher who was like an angel at the time, but by the time I was eighth grade, I was 13 years old. So prior
Okay.
to that, if there were teachers or other adults who may have been able to step in and help to make a shift that into a positive direction, I don't remember them. My mom was amazing, and she always encouraged us to talk and to work through our situations, but young people don't always go to mom or dad or
That's right.
some other caregiver and say, I'm being bullied, this is what's happening to me. So they oftentimes turn that pain inward, or they fight. And I did both. I used to say that I'm cutting myself. I didn't physically cut myself, but I cut
Mhm.
myself with words. Oh, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not
Mm.
smart enough, and all of those things. None of those things were true, but when you start to internalize the things that are happening to you, you begin to believe your own negative narrative. So I had to really recognize that. And it took me decades, to be honest, to recognize the pain I was causing myself and to go from a fierce warrior to a peaceful warrior.
So let's throw in the huge elephant in the room, social media, with what you just said. How do you help young people? I mean, that is tough, because there's the physical world as far as what they see around them, and then social media seems to be even bigger and more grand and more powerful than what is reality. How do you help people, young people that are in that fight or flight mode and feel like nobody cares, if I don't do it for myself, it won't happen?
Wow, that, Taylor, is a very big question. And I don't pretend to be the authority on that, but I do have some ideas. I think
Yeah.
that first of all, it's really important to get involved. Each one, reach one, each one, teach one. And yes, social media is really big, but it's more important. I don't know the statistics, but I know that with the advent of social media, people are lonelier than they've ever
Mhm.
been, and we are all in our own little bubble and believing the first cut reel, if you will, of social media, when you know that the real life has landed on the cutting room floor. So everybody thinks that life is great for everybody but them, and that's not true. But if we as individuals who have gained some enlightenment through a lot of prayer and a lot of in reflection, it's our job to reach out to those young people. It's our job to interrupt those negative behaviors to help them get on a better trajectory. And just, hey sister, you know what? I know you think that looks cute having your pants hanging down, or I know you think it makes sense. Whatever you see that they're doing, then just pull them to the side. I do not believe in public shaming or getting on social media and saying stop it, because DM that person, call that
Mm.
person, text that person and say, let's go to lunch so we can talk. Let's go to lunch. And so I can hear what you have to say and hear what's heavy on your heart. And people respond to one-on-one experiences. People want to be cared for, and they respond when you call them and don't, again, ignore them or publicly shame them.
Now I want to read your background a little bit here. So you have a bachelor's degree in communication from Illinois State University, but you're also an author, you're a speaker, and you're a certified consulting hypnotist and conscious living expert. First, when I saw hypnotist, tell me a little bit about that occupation.
Okay. First of all, I love the way the mind works, and that's what made me want to move into this arena. And so many people that I talk to are afraid of it. Oh, you're going to control my mind. Oh, you're going to make me bark like a dog. It's none of that. It's none of that. Hypnotism is as simple as deep guided meditation, and it helps a person to drop their innermost, their greatest, their biggest dreams and hopes about themselves and their lives into their subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind actually controls our eyes blinking, our thoughts. I have one mentor that says everywhere you are in life, your mind got there first. So if you know that, then access the subconscious mind to help you get where you want to go. And it's as simple as that.
So
And
are there
think of
people
that.
that can't be hypnotized?
So when you drove to your current location, were you thinking about it? Do you remember? Can you go back and tell me every
No,
step
I
that
don't think I was.
that's hypnotism? You're already there.
Really?
Yeah, it's just that simple. We do things without even thinking about it all the time. So people say, "Oh, I can never be hypnotized." Yeah, you can if you allow yourself to relax and and you do it because you want to experience your best life. So if you allow yourself to relax, and you've already spoken with me and told me what your hopes and dreams are, what your fears are that you want to overcome, what your desires are that you want to actualize, those are the things that we talk about that I share with you during hypnotism. That's it.
So there's no snapping, you're going to do this,
No.
snap, none of that. So I can't tell you to stop making me eat sweets, right?
Well, we can do put things in your subconscious mind that will make you do the things that are serve your best interest, and you'll have less interest in eating sweets because you have decided in your subconscious mind that you want things to have the best life. You want to feel your best, you want to look your best, you want to have the most energy, and we know that sugar doesn't do that for you.
Wow. Angel Allen Townsend, our first guest tonight. So we're going to segue to our next guest. There's so much in store for you. Angel, don't go anywhere. We're going to now meet our next guest.
I'm right here. Thank you.
My name is Janice Barnwell, and I'm so excited to be an author in Volume 2 of Bloom. Stories for women to nurture your growth and water your soul. I'm also very excited because Kumbaya, Come By Here, is the title of my chapter. I hope that my chapter will inspire you to embrace new beginnings, a new mindset, a new focus, a new start, new intentions, and to acquire new results. Thank you.
Janice Barnwell is our next guest. Oh, Janice, someone's already saying hello to you. Vanita Anderson is giving you some love already, starting
Thank
us
you,
off.
Taylor. First, I would like just to say thank you so much for inviting me on this amazing platform. And you're such a beautiful, inspiring woman that makes the person you're interviewing very comfortable and confident. And I appreciate you being on this platform
Well, I'm
with
looking
us.
forward to sharing your story. And I want people to know this about you because you didn't say it in the clip there, but you're a clinical counselor. Clinical counseling from Webster University. You're a licensed professional counselor and you're a licensed professional counselor supervisor. You deal with addiction. You have a master's in addiction counseling. So you come with a wealth of information. You're from South Carolina, Hilton Head.
Yes,
I don't think I meet from that many people from that area, you know? We go
I
there as a
hear the same
vacation.
thing. I'm a fifth generation native of Hilton Head Island,
Wow.
home of the Gullah people. Many people
Yeah.
have never heard of the Gullah culture. So that's basically what my chapter is about. It's entitled Kumbaya. That means come by here. And I just share my journey of being a product of the Gullah culture, growing up on a barrier island that no one knew about. You know, our culture was very, very close to the culture, what we mimicked from West Africa, Nigeria, the Yoruba people. So just that journey I shared in my chapter and how it affected me and just not being confident. It affected my self-esteem because, people would acknowledge outside of my safe haven, when I would travel to Savannah or other places, someone made comment on my dialect or the way I talked, or, the elders who may have been with me. And my mother was an educator. She taught junior high for many years in elementary school. So it was her mission to disrupt that Gullah dialect to learn to speak standard English.
So, Janice, for people who don't know the Gullah culture, just give us a describe to it the best that you can what it was like growing up for you.
Growing up for me on Hilton Head, I can best describe it. It was my Garden of Eden. It was basically farmland, farming, fishing, and just going to the beach. That was just a big playground, an area that I was able to roam freely without having the gated communities and just what we see. Hilton Head Island is now a very upscale resort. It was not that way growing up. And just being different, being isolated from the mainland. As a matter of fact, we didn't have a bridge connecting to Hilton Head Island until 1956, and I was two. So
Wow.
just not mixing with, the mainland on a regular basis without having to travel by a ferry boat. We just embraced and enjoyed our culture. As I said, that was very similar to the West African culture.
Hmm.
We didn't know and we didn't have the language to say we were Gullah people. We just were. We had our own township. We didn't have any medical facilities. For example, my aunt attended a nursing school in Columbia, South Carolina, but she wanted to return to Hilton Head. Of course, returning to Hilton Head, we didn't have any medical facilities.
That's just unheard of. Wow.
Yeah, she was a
Wow.
midwife. So my siblings and I were all born in my parents' home, delivered by a midwife. And, when you're talking and meeting people, and they just start, what? You were born, you weren't delivered in a hospital. So you all were just backward and dumb and just had this very negative attitudes. So it just made me feel insecure and just didn't have the confidence I needed, because when I realized how different my experience and our lifestyle and culture was for most people, I had just a serious self-esteem problem of
What
just,
age are we
being,
talking about?
I would say after I completed elementary school, which was seventh grade, my parents sent all of my siblings and I to a private church boarding school, Boggs
Hmm.
Academy in Keysville, Georgia. So at
Okay.
that school, we had people from, different areas of Georgia, Illinois, Chicago, New York, Atlanta area. So coming from Hilton Head to assimilate with a group of people, students from cities, their life was so different from mine. So they would comment about the culture, just in conversation and just comparing their lifestyle and how they grew up was so different from mine. And it made me feel, insecure. Said, wow, but I didn't see the benefits of, being on this island and having free access to the ocean, fresh seafood, and just a loving, close knit community. I didn't see the value of that at that time. So,
So, tonight's theme is about identity and culture. And would you find any solace in another African American, whether they were from the Gullah area or not? Did you find someone who was like, listen, I'm going to put you under my wings, or it was just out there on your own?
I would say there were other students from the Charleston area, you know, the entire Korea from, I guess, starting in Florida all the way to North Carolina are considered the Gullah Geechee corridor,
Hmm.
you
Right.
know, the islands. So, of
Hmm.
course, there were a few students, but everybody was trying to assimilate, with the other students, other cultures, and people were, ashamed of being from a barrier island, being from the Gullah culture. So we didn't want to claim it or define it as such.
So, how has
So
that shaped you? You're an adult now, you're an author, you have a professional background, what, 42 years in the field of human services. How has it shaped you to help others that maybe they're not Gullah, maybe they're not on a barrier island, but they still feel like they're alone and they're different from everyone else?
I just encourage people to research their history, their past, to learn more about who they are, and not to allow anyone to define who you are. Just finding, your niche and building your confidence, your self-esteem. And that's what some of the skills that I have taught in workshops, individual counseling, group therapy for women who, just had issues with self-esteem.
What has it
And
meant to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
mm,
I'm sorry.
no,
No,
so,
I don't want to cut you off. Like there's so many things coming to me. No, no, I don't want to cut you off. Sorry about that.
just in terms of, often I see women and children now even more so because I still supervise individuals working toward their licensure in South Carolina. And that's so common of young people just struggling with their self-esteem, the self-injurious behavior, cutting, just being depressed, having bouts of anxiety, having to be prescribed for medication, and just even the suicide rate, has escalated. It's especially among
African
people of
Americans.
color. That was
Yes.
unheard of. No one
Yes.
ever, you didn't hear of a Black person taking their lives under the most gruesome situations. We were just survivors. We had the
Hmm.
inner strength and the support of family and community to know that, okay, if my ancestors survived slavery and the Jim Crow era, certainly we can, we will continue to survive and thrive in this environment.
Janice, why
So
do you think African Americans, young African Americans between the ages of 12 and 17, in some cases are surpassing those of their white counterparts as it pertains to suicide? Because I don't think a lot of people know that spike that's happened over the last couple of years. Is there anything professionally that you've learned in the industry of counseling that attributes to that?
historically, families and mine as well, we were taught not to air your dirty laundry. Everything that goes on in your family, was secret, sacred. You didn't share with other people. And many people don't trust sharing how they feel with someone that they don't know. So it's a huge trust issue, especially um, with our counterparts. They may not feel as comfortable talking with a Caucasian therapist opposed to talking with someone Black.
And
And
I can imagine that. I
that's not
can
always
possibly see
available.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, I can possibly
So
see that. And then I'm seeing over the last 5 years, I'm seeing an increase in people of color talking about it's okay to seek professional help and it's okay to realize you may have mental health issues. And
absolutely.
Taraji P. Henson has been an amazing,
Yes,
outspoken person that has really shaken up the world and let people know if she can say that, surely if you're dealing with it, you're not alone. And I've been really
absolutely.
surprised to see the number of people on television, African Americans, that are saying, males too, by the way, saying, I'm dealing with something right now and I'm in trouble a little bit.
Yeah, that transparency really makes a difference because oftentimes, just in our history as people of color, the church was our refuge. We would
Correct.
pray, we would deal with it through, counseling, not necessarily the pastor or an assistant having the clinical background or the experience to really help a person to work through their trauma or whatever the issues are. And so that is now because I've had many, many clients in the past who were members of a church who were perhaps even abused or traumatized by someone in the church. So I'm just so thankful that a lot of our entertainers are on a national platform endorsing and encouraging Black people that it's okay to seek counseling. That's a part of taking care of yourself, is to take care of your mental health. That's a part of taking care of the total being.
Janice, how do you feel that COVID has affected? I mean, can you imagine being fearful at home and now you're at home with the people who may be torturing you or causing your pain or anxiety?
That is a great question, acknowledgement, because there has been a tremendous increase of suicide, as I recall mentioned earlier, among our Black adolescents. Families are disrupted because of loss of job, and there are just a lot of social ills that are affecting, especially people of color. I would say, perhaps everyone, an increase in the depression, anxiety, and children just are just committing suicide. Many times we don't hear about it, but it's happening at an alarming rate. And
Janice, can we talk about maybe three or four signs that maybe a parent or a loved one might see in either a child or an adult that they could perhaps need? It may be a call for help. Can you give us maybe three signs maybe?
yes, I would be happy to share that.
Thanks.
Some of at least three common symptoms are just the isolation, just sleeping a lot, not really taking care of their personal hygiene, not wanting to change clothes, shower, etc., and just not wanting to engage in eating a meal with the family, just wanting to, just binge off of junk foods and just not showing up for online school or virtual learning. They're just, have checked out. And we've seen, an increase in the self-injurious behaviors, cutting themselves. Yeah, it's very sad. Drinking, drugs, we're seeing an alarming increase in the rate among adolescents. And that just the
Janice,
question
how
is
do you
where they,
get help? How do you
I'm
get
sorry.
help for people who either one obviously clearly don't see what they're necessarily doing, and if you ask them they would say I don't need help, I don't want help. What can you give to families as far as what they can do, or loved ones? Doesn't have to be a child, but
Mhm.
love, what kind of advice can you give to those people that may be dealing with that as things that they can do to help or get help?
Just to provide the parents or the adults with the resources and make it available and just share with them resources that may be free, not cost, and oftentimes parents who may have not the resources, because many parents with the resources, they will reach out because they have perhaps health insurance that they can find a mental health provider or therapist, clinician. But for parents who may be indigent, through Medicaid,
Mm-hmm.
there are clinicians who are panel with many of the Medicaid providers. So it's just an array of services. Some patients, referrals may require just an assessment, evaluation, and for um, a referral to a short-term inpatient treatment facility, because oftentimes when it gets to that point, it's very serious. And
Absolutely.
oftentimes hospitalization is required. As I said, we have lost many, many, many adolescents during this pandemic at an alarming rate. Yeah.
Janice Barnwell, she is our second guest for the night. And we're going to get to our last guest right now. She's going to
Well,
introduce
thank you
herself.
so much.
Oh, no, don't go anywhere. No, I don't want you to go anywhere, Janice. We're not done with
Okay.
you. We're gonna have
I
this
am
third guest,
here.
and then we're gonna all
I'm
have
not
you there.
going anywhere. Thank
I
you
don't
so
want you to
much.
go anywhere. We're
Okay.
gonna let our
Thank you
next
so
guest
much.
introduce herself. You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I'll talk with you soon.
Yes, indeed.
Hi, my name is Debra Marks, and I am so excited to be an author in the second volume of Bloom, Stories for Women to Nurture Your Growth and Water Your Soul. The reason I am so excited is Bloom Volume 2 has inspired me to write the rest of the story, knowing it will reach others. It will reach many people who have had some of the same experiences. My chapter is Black, Dirty, or both. And I hope it will inspire you to love everyone and to treat everyone with love, regardless of the color of their skin or any differences they have from you.
Welcome, Debra. Debra Marks joining us now, the third author tonight from Bloom. So, was it exciting or kind of scary to write your chapter?
Well, good evening, Taylor. Thank you so much. And thank you again for having me. What a pleasure. What a delight to be here with you. It was exciting and somewhat I guess scary in a way, just to be honest and come forward with having had so many experiences of prejudice at such a young age. And then I really almost laid my own platform for that to continue.
So let's talk about your story. Let's share it, if you will, and then we'll talk about what we can find in the chapter. So, what's your story of racism and prejudice as a child?
Well, my chapter opens up with a young girl literally vigorously rubbing my skin, trying to get me clean, if you will. And she said to me, "Why are you so dirty? Your sister isn't. And why didn't you take a shower? Your sister did." And my sister, whom you've already met, she was the first author here tonight. She's my biological sister. Angel is, I know, right?
I did not know that. How did I miss that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And she told you she was a peaceful warrior, but how she started, I mean, she was very protective then, as she still is. And she snatched my arm from the little girl and told her to stop it, and told her I wasn't dirty, and that was the color of my skin. So at the time, quite honestly, and then we continued to play. So at the time, quite honestly, I didn't think I internalized that. I didn't think I felt dirty, if you will, but I knew I was darker. My sister was always more fair, like our dad, and my brother and I more brown skin, like our mom. But our parents didn't make us feel any different, and they treated us all the same, all very loving and kind. And then when this took place, I expressed to my mom what happened, and she said, "You are beautiful inside and out." And they haven't met a lot of people that look like us. But I just want you to know that white people spend countless hours trying to look like you. So, and then my mom went on. She always had an amazing way of finding a positive spin on whatever took place. So then she went on to say, "Go ahead and tell me what else you guys did. How did you have fun tonight?" So my mom was just absolutely amazing in protecting us, but yet saying the reality is you're beautiful and they actually want to look like you. So you're not dirty. But it really did impact me a lot. And as time went on, I had more experiences of prejudice and really not knowing it, and young people to young people. So it made me wonder what later on in life, what is being taught in the homes of not just white people, everyone. What are we teaching? How are we living? How are we teaching our young people to be prejudiced, to express prejudice against their counterparts? So yeah, it was very impactful.
You know, Deborah, I had a number of years ago had an interview with a guest, and he happened to state what you just stated, right? What's being taught. I question that, right?
Mhm.
And he literally gave me a number of examples. For example, talking about how when you're watching television, the bad
Mhm.
guy wears black and the good guy wears white. I mean, little subconscious things like this, right? The Barbie doll. We all know about that study done with a little black girl wanted the white baby doll versus the black baby doll because
Yes.
and how the media can make things appear, the blonde hair and blue eye
Yes.
is seemingly the best in all cultures. It seems like that for somehow they were able with marketing and media and probably songs and videos to skew people to think lighter is better. And in many cultures there is a colorism within the own race, right?
Exactly. Yes. So true.
So how did you confront it as far as growing up visually seeing it? Because you just said you went back playing, so it didn't really change your life. I mean, you're a kid, I get that. But
Yes.
how do you think, because we're still dealing with this today, I think maybe even worse in some cases,
I agree wholeheartedly. So my response was to continue to love and treat everyone the same. That's just how we were raised as children. And quite honestly, before uh desegregation, I I honestly think the neighborhoods that were put together, walking to your schools, whatever race was there, whatever creed, it was better that way. But when kids began to be bused, and then they separated you by these are the smarter kids, and they'll go to these
mm,
classes, and these kids will go to the AP classes, and these kids need remedial classes. It just really construed all of the entire thought process of how things are supposed to be done. It's almost like the desegregating made the segregating worse within a school, within a community center. It just seemed to get progressively worse. This group is better because they
mhm.
get better grades. And why do they get better grades? And suddenly we begin to believe it's because of the color of their skin. They have more money
Ah,
because of the color of their skin. They drive better, they live better. This is just all of these falsehoods really it confuses everyone, and it makes the belief system so tainted. And now here we are, all of us, like you said, having all of these prejudice experiences. And you know that in some homes at the dinner table, people are being taught, yes, you are better than. Yes, you do get the better grades. You do have better opportunities. And so I responded to that with more love, more embracing of everyone, always trying to make sure I didn't show any difference. And my husband and I have two living children, and we raise them the same. That you don't make a difference because of the color of one's skin or their lifestyle choices or any of that. You don't make a difference. Be who you are and be grounded and rooted in that, but love everyone. Treat everyone the way you want to be treated. Let's follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And we all come out better that way.
I think, and Deborah, I appreciate you saying that. I think one of the things is it oftentimes, really, from my years of doing news and covering stories, it's oftentimes the victim who's doing that and turning the other cheek, which will not solve the problem because you still have the agitator or the bully or the group that is attacking the person who is doing that, living and doing life as they should, treating others as they should. I see one comment came in. It said all of these hypnotism over the long term, the suggestions dropped into our subconscious minds and impact us in countless ways. So that's one comment that came in. And I think this is such a touchy subject. And Colette said the golden rule. This is such a touchy subject, but it is something that has to be. I think it's so important to be addressed, and for people to look at things, that deter you. There's other connotations that people use that are negative towards Black or the color of Black. And if you just think about it, when you think of the color red, I instantly think of something possibly hot and spicy. It just is what it is. So, but bell peppers aren't like that, but you wouldn't know it if you don't try it. So it's things like that. I use something trivial, and it's not in any way as big as dealing with racism. And I think this world, I think so many African Americans have turned the other cheek and have, been that person who says, I'm going to love everyone. And in some cases, it's not helped them, get over the hump. What do you hope that people take from your chapter?
Everything you said is so true, Taylor. And I am praying and I'm very hopeful that people will take from my chapter that, first of all, we must have a voice. We must give voice to, like you said earlier, when I believe you were interviewing Angel or Janice, but you said, let's deal with the elephant in the room. And let's deal with this elephant in the room. Let's stop pretending as though we don't have any prejudice. We all do. We all do. And it's okay. But let's give it voice. Let's talk through it. Let's communicate through it. Let's teach properly. And Angel also said, each one teach one. And I am a firm believer in that as well. We must scoop up some of the young people and mentor them. And as soon as they utter words of prejudice or dislike because of the color of someone's skin or their social background or their ethnicity or anything of the like, as soon as they utter those words, we must stop them in their tracks and explain to them that if we would all embrace one another and accept each other and judge not that ye not be judged, if we would all try to do this better, we could all get along better. And
I think that's so true.
Yes. And it's really
so very true. And I mean that inside the races too. Inside the races, you have an obligation to do that, to not have self-hate for others that are just like you. I want to bring up Janice now. I want to bring up Angel and of course Sheila. We are getting too close to the top of the hour. And Sheila, I want you to give me some more information because the book is it the second edition or third edition is coming out?
It's the third edition is coming out, but of course this is the second volume.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So where do they get copies?
Wow. Well, to get copies of the second edition, I want people to go to the authors because the authors have the colored copies, which are the best copies to purchase. So yeah.
Oh, look, Angel has her copy. There you go, Angel.
Yes.
Everyone has it. Okay, Angel,
We
you
all
have
have
your
our copies.
Yeah.
So Angel, so we have Deborah's copy. Okay, so we're gonna go in order.
Yeah.
Deborah or Janice, how do they get a copy from you, Janice?
The best way to receive a copy is to text me at 843-4 422-1206. I'm in the process of having a website developed. Being developed as we speak, but that's the best way to contact me directly to order your book.
Okay, Angel, how can we get a copy from you?
You can, by all means, call or text me at 708-359-1119. I'm also on Facebook at Angel Allen Townsend. And I will get you a signed copy out as soon as you reach out to me. And you'll enjoy. There's so many great stories here, and they're actually do nurture your growth and water your soul, help people to see things in a more positive light. So please call me, text me, or reach out to me on Facebook.
Now, Deborah, how can we get a copy from you? If not from your sister, you got right. We got a competition here.
And I too would love for you to send a text or call me at 815-243-3380, or you are more than welcome to email me at Debra, Debra, .marks, MARKS, 03 @yahoo.com.
And Sheila, you have some exciting news to announce.
I do. We are preparing for Bloom Volume 3. Can I get some
Wow.
hand clap?
Yeah.
I'm so excited, Taylor, about that, because I just want to say before I give information about Bloom Volume 3, just how proud I am of each of these authors, because it takes a lot of courage, to be open and to be transparent and to voice some of the obstacles and the challenges that you face, because that's a lot of pain. And that's a lot of exposure as well. And these women have taken the courage, they have opened up so that other women can learn and to grow and to bloom as well. So I wanted to start off for that, because why? The Bloom Project is all about uplifting women. And so we're going to continue our community in Bloom Volume 3. And we have a intake meeting coming up this Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And so those that are interested, you can go to my page, Wake Up, Rise Up, Live Up. Think about waking up, rising up, and then living up. And you will see the information on a Facebook page. There will be a link there that will take you where you can register for the event online. That's one way in which they can do it. They can also reach out to me at Sheila, SHEILA, at wakeupriseUpliveUp.com, and just send me an email and say, Sheila, I'm interested.
Now, Sheila, I want to point out, because if there's someone who's watching the program today and saying, listen, I have a story, but I don't know how to write. I'm not a writer. Sheila, you go and assist these women and prepare them for this journey, because it's not as simple. Some people have the writing gift and others need the assistance, and you actually help them through that. That's not just, you don't let them by themselves.
No, not at all. This is a journey. We walk together. This is a sisterhood. This is a sacred sisterhood. And so we walk with you step by step. That's what makes it different than any other anthology project, because this is a transformative journey and a reflective journey that we go on together as sisters. And we take time with each one, and there's coaching involved, personal, individual coaching, group coaching, writing coaching. And at the end of it, there is a true transformation, and there is truly a beauty, because our book is designed to be a bouquet to women around the world. It's just a beautiful thing.
So, ladies, Deborah, Janice, or even Angel, you can answer this. Has anyone came up to you and said, I cannot believe how moved I was by this book? Has anyone told you a story that just made you? I see you saying yes, Angel. You? Yes?
That has happened a couple of times, actually. I've had people reach out to me and said, what you shared made me feel that I could share my story as well, and that what has happened to me is not just me. you bringing that your story to light made me feel like, okay, it's not just me, I can share it. So yeah, it has definitely happened more than once, several
Deborah?
times.
Yes, and me as well. I've had people say, "Wow, I didn't know that, Deb. You don't act like anyone that
Wow.
had those types of experiences." So thank you so much for sharing. And I'm always waiting for the next volume, and that's already had people saying that about volume 2.
Yeah.
Even though they're just now getting their copies, they're reading it right away and saying all the stories are blessing them so, and how they really are growing and their
It's
souls are being watered.
it's a great coffee table read. Janice, anyone who's come up to you and kind of shared like this has been so great for me personally.
Absolutely. I've had people who came from the same culture I came from. I think I
Oh,
noticed on one of the chats, someone said that they came from the Gullah culture as well. So many people can identify with coming from a different culture that was not embraced or accepted, and it resonates with them, and they want to read my story and they want to share their story as well.
I love it. I love it, especially being cooped up in the house for most of us over 18 months. It's so great to be able to share and have a sisterhood of people who can relate. And even if they can't relate, to be able to empathize and say, wow, I never thought of that, because many of us do not look like what we've been through. Sheila Reynolds, you should be commended for thinking of this and putting it together. Debra Marks, Janice Barnwell, and Angel Townsend. I have to thank you, three authors, ladies, for being so candid and talking to us. And Sheila, I can just see a women's summit, even if you have to do something virtual, I can just see everyone pouring into everyone and really getting the nurturing and the watering
Yes,
that they
yes,
need to have their life really bloom. Ladies,
absolutely.
I have to
Yes.
thank you so very much for joining us tonight. And I know this is going to be great. I can't wait to hear about the authors and the topics for volume 3 of Bloom. I really enjoyed tonight. Next week, if you're wondering, it's all things weddings with Nicole Finger of Fingers in Ink. Listen, it is going to be a show you are going to enjoy. Ladies, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank
Until
you.
next
Thank you
week,
so
God
much.
bless and
Thank you.
goodbye.
Thank you so
Goodbye.
much.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you.